Awareness. Awareness on any topic, on any subject is so important because it gives us the information that we need. It educates us on the topic so that we can be better informed and make more educated decisions on any topic that it may be. I would like to discuss cell phones a little more and the need for creating awareness for parents. Many parents that came to my attention are really not aware of the dangers that cell phones pose to their young children. And even if they're aware of those dangers, they are still not able to really be completely cognitively fully aware to be able to take practical actions and guide and support their children in healthy cell phone use. We went on an overnight this past week, and it became obvious that there is a lot more awareness on the subject that needs to be made. And I see it as my responsibility to offer some of that awareness and to point you in the right direction of being able to create that awareness for yourselves by reading, by educating yourselves on the topic, and hopefully being led in the right direction so that you can support both yourselves as parents and also, of course, mainly the children to guide them in the right direction. There is a book I would like to make you aware of, but before I do, I want to make you aware of an interesting fact. On the overnight, we talked to the children, and many of the children came forward and gave us their phones to hold until the end of the trip. And that was voluntary. After we talked to the kids came forward and let us have their phones. I had a tremendous amount of respect for those children. And I really thanked them for it. And I thought it meant a lot of those kids who came forward. And that despite the fact that they were told not to, and they know that their parents were also told not to and pleased not to, and were given the information on why they shouldn't, they still brought their phones, but they were still strong enough to be able to bring them forward so that we can hold it for them until the end of the trip. And I thought that was very big of them. But an interesting fact, when I spoke to the girls, about 13 girls came forward and gave in their phones. When I spoke to the boys, I got about 3 boys that came forward to bring me their phones. Now, the statistic there is an interesting one because there wasn't less boys because less boys simply came forward. It's just because less boys actually had their phones with them. And I do know that for a fact. A lot more girls actually brought their phones. And therefore, after I talked to them, a lot more of them came forward and let us hold it for them until the end of the trip. That is very, very much in sync with the data out there and with the information that is out there, that girls are a lot more vulnerable and affected by social media and by their personal devices, a lot more so than boys. Boys are obviously also very much affected by it in different ways, however, but the addictive nature of the social media, the screen, the personal device, the addictive nature is much more, girls are much more susceptible to it. And we saw that this past week. I was able to see that for myself. The data, though, where I'm getting this from, I'm not going to quote the data to you. I don't remember it all offhand, but I do want to point you in the right direction. There is an author, an MD, with a PhD. His name is Leonard Sachs, and this is his book, one of them. It's called Girls on the Edge. And I advise you to read it. It's a nice book, not too long, but not too short either. And there's tremendous amount of information in this book. If you have girls, please read this book. Please read this book so you can make yourself aware and so you can educate yourself and get the facts from this doctor, psychologist, therapist, someone who has worked with children and teens for many, many, many years, has done a tremendous amount of his own research and has looked up other people's research and puts it all into the book. It's beautiful how he lays it out. And there's a wealth of information in there, a wealth of statistics, and also a lot of practical solutions, which is the best part of the book, of course. Now, it's important to realize that every family is different, and that the way that we work with our children will be unique and different from family to family, and even within the same family, from child to child. But what should be universal is that there is a strong parent involvement in the child's life, a consistent parent involvement in the child's life, and a consistent message from the parent. We parents must be strong and empower ourselves and be consistent, both mom and dad, and also parent friend groups. Our children are friends, whether at camp or at school or wherever it might be. And as a result, a lot of times we are family friends. It is very important, and do not underestimate the power that we have as parents when we get together as a friend group and we make decisions together. We work as a team to help support our children. Now, that might look different in each home, the way it's done, but as a team of parents, we do it together so that when we make a decision, whether it's certain time limits on the phone, whether it's after a certain amount of time, after a certain time every evening where the phone is off, whether it's certain apps that are restricted, whatever the restrictions are, whatever the guidelines are that you want to come up with, it's a lot more powerful when it's done as a parent group. It kind of takes away a little bit of the peer pressure off the children because they know, yes, our parents are deciding this together. And the kids, of course, might be annoyed about this, but it does empower the parents and the children when the children know, okay, this is something that our families are doing, and there isn't really a lot of wiggle room because we know our parents got together and they're going to be strong about this and they're going to support each other on this. I'm bringing this up because, and I mentioned a little bit of this in a previous video, and I'm going to reiterate it because this is the main point. There are two aspects and why this is so important. It's a new age, it's a new world, and our children are growing up in a world in which we parents, and I can promise you this, we parents have less than 5% knowledge of what our children are doing online with their personal devices, whom they're talking to, what they're talking about, the information that they're exposed to, the things that they're exposed to, the influences on their lives, and so on and so forth. And most of that information we will probably never know. Now, as a parent myself, that's terrifying to me because I, the parent of my children, I need to be the one. I feel the responsibility. I need to be the one setting the tone for my child's life, influencing my child in the positive ways that I want my child to grow up in. I want to be the one that's setting the tone for their life. And I want to be their role model. I want to be the one who is filling their mind with useful, positive, and good information, helpful information, positive information, information that will inspire them, knowledge that will guide them, that will help them grow. That they're not getting any of that online. I hope we know that. So my friends, I'm sharing this message because I care deeply about our children, about our community, and it is very important that we become aware of the situation, of what's going on, and don't just leave it alone. Don't just say, well, everyone has it, everyone does it. That's not the response. It's not the correct response. We have to take responsibility. We have to think responsibly and do the right thing, and do it kindly and do it thoughtfully and do it properly, but it has to be done. But whether it's restricting, whether it's limiting, creating, cell phone free times of the day, times of the week. I mean, really nice big chunks of time, not 20 minutes, but a good solid couple of hours, and fill those hours with other meaningful things that our children should do, and teach them to not be dependent on their devices. So we talked before about that there are two things, there are two values, two things here that we have to do as parents. First of all, we have to realize that the phone is extremely damaging to our children. It feeds them information and it gives them access to things that are damaging, at best, things that don't help them at all, and at worst, things that are very damaging and things that are very, very influencing in the wrong way on our children. And number two, the cell phone is extremely addictive. The cell phone creates a false sense of security, a false sense of communication. It robs our children of the real ability to communicate properly, to look people in the eye, to read body language, to be socially aware. Many, many young people are not socially aware because the only way they really communicate is through their phone. And that is not a healthy way to grow up. We don't want our kids growing up that way. We want our kids growing up with real social skills, with real people skills. And the phone does not do that. The phone robs our children of that. So it's very, very important that we become aware of these things. Now, for those of us who don't have girls or who also have boys, luckily, Leonard Sachs has also written a book about boys, or for boys, called Boys Adrift. Same author. I advise you to go out and buy these books, Boys Adrift, Girls on Edge. Very, very important and good books with a wealth of information. And I feel it will help open our eyes to the facts of what is actually going on out there, the influences on our children's lives from many, many different scenarios, different areas. And it's primarily the internet, social media, and personal devices. I'm speaking to you really from my heart because I care. I feel it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to help children and to help parents be the best parents possible for their children. And that is to create as much awareness as possible on the things that are going on in the world. And again, I want to reiterate, some of us parents are very, very involved in their children's lives, and that's great. But I want to point out, I really believe even those of us who are really involved in our children's lives, the percentage of how much we really know what's going on through the device, through the internet, that percentage is very small. And it's a frightening thought. We really have to care more, and we have to help empower our children to get off their devices, to get off of social media, maybe not completely, that's fine, but it should really be just a small part of their lives, a small part. It shouldn't be a very, very small percentage of their lives. If it's anything more than that, that then becomes dangerous and it becomes addictive and it becomes damaging. So again, I want this message to be a positive one because it's one which I hope I'm empowering. It's one in which I hope I'm making aware. I'm trying to give information in order so that we will be able to make better decisions for our children. So my friends, I wish you all the very best. Feel free to reach out to me if you feel like you want to or you need to. Look up Leonard Sachs's books. He has a lot of other books, by the way, on children and teens. Wonderful, wonderful books. There's another book called The Collapse of Parenting. If you want to read that, it's a fascinating book. But I recommend Boys Adrift and Girls on the Edge for those of us who have boys or girls and girls. Please be in touch. Good luck. God help us and bless us all to be as successful and to be healthy and to be the best parents that we can be. Have a great day.